Hey, this is Analytical Check. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We've got kind of a happy story for you. Let's get into it. So, a former leftist wrote this, so it's how to understand Democrats from a former leftist. I think she's in a Facebook group with me, actually. I'm not sure. I'll double check. So I may even be able to get her on later on, like for a chat. So the story goes, she remembers I remember what my dad told me when I first called myself a social justice warrior. When you're young, if you're not a liberal, you have no heart, but if you're a liberal when you're older, you have no head. Well, actually, I've always been a conservative personally, so anyway. At 15, I was certain that both my head and my heart were following a noble path, and the applause I received was reinforcement enough to prompt me to hurl myself off the cliff of righteous advocacy. It only made sense. As early as middle school, I was volunteering extensively and raised thousands of dollars for a Mexican orphanage that I visited after 8th grade. So when I was asked to join a social justice group halfway through my freshman year in high school, I was unknowingly pushed into a trap that, as the left exploited my naivete. As a participant in the social justice group, I was constantly meeting more warriors, including peers, professionals, and elected officials. The cause of social justice advocacy quickly became so inherent in my nature and so fused to my identity that it dictated my every word, action, and thought. I became a backpack button advocate, squeezing every last pin that represented one social justice cause or another onto my backpack to flaunt everywhere I went. Every issue had to be equally important because after being encouraged to constantly check my privilege, these people led me to believe that I was part of the reason for the oppression of millions, and I could only be a good person if I took the utmost responsibility to help them. By putting pins on her backpack, of course. Sorry. Just helping the oppressed meant being present at rallies and protests and social justice meetings and constant educational, quote-unquote, platforms. It meant lobbying and campaigning and harassing people on social media and making myself known as a social justice warrior who would not back down when it came to standing up for the oppressed. And we need to be, just a side note, we need to be, staunch and not back down. But the thing is, you can't pick on people. Because if we pick on people on social media, you get put in, Facebook jail. But just, repeatedly ask them questions and don't back down. I like to ask. I don't want to get into that because this is actually a happy story. But anyway, don't back down, but don't pick on them. Just ask a lot of pointed questions. And just keep asking the questions and keep pointing out that they didn't answer you. That's my advice. Compared to many extreme leftists who associate more with socialism, I was still considered a run-of-the-mill Democrat. I volunteered for organizations such as Obama's Organizing for Action and Planned Parenthood. Planned Unparenthood. While attending events like the Young Democrats National High School Conference, passion for the causes of the left pulsed through her veins, leading her to become completely consumed by her perceived obligation to dedicate her life to helping others through social action. Can't talk. She lost her sense of self as these leftist advocacy groups convinced her that her entire being must be defined by her social justice mindset. She lost friends because she judged them and fought with them and detested them even if they did not agree with her heroic viewpoint. How many people, when you're done with this, comment and let me know how many of you have had friends who, wouldn't back down and, eventually either you got sick of them or they got sick of you and you're not friends with them anymore. I think everybody has one of those. I had one. She was really into Mother Jones and Salon, constantly posting articles from those sources. But anyway, looking back, it's clear how someone at such a formidable age could be brainwashed and guilted into thinking that she has a duty to overlook and even delegitimize her own needs and desires to help those who apparently, italics, cannot help themselves. The emotional appeal is particularly strong at such a young age. When teens are beginning to mature and learn about the world, their bodies and minds are simultaneously being driven by hormones and rapidly developing brains. Although, while there are more outspoken leftists coming from the millennial era, these appeals don't apply only to the youth. The bigger picture can easily be warped into a closed-minded worldview presented as the left's ideal, open-minded perspective through manipulation of pathos, ethos, and logos. So it's not hard to see how pathos, or emotional appeal, can be used to manipulate the conscience. For example, one could simply tell a story of a family of illegal immigrants separated by the American government. The story is told with a clear good guy, i.e. the innocent and persecuted family, and thus the bad guy becomes the government. Of course, then, ethos or ethical appeal calls on this person to see themselves as responsible for fighting the government to help the helpless victim. In the past, however, logos or logic could not be used as an equal weight support for this kind of social justice ideology. In only recent decades, the drastically increasingly polarization and intense emotional associations with politics have allowed the left to present their utopian, feeling-based platforms under the guise of logic. I hate the left. Of course, with such seemingly noble causes helping the helpless, it's not impossible to understand why the voters and politically active left wholeheartedly believe they are doing the right thing and weren't fighting and all that crap. However, I have come to realize, well, not me, but the author, that is the Democratic Party which has ultimately exploited these irrational leftist ideals, using them to pull their members further from the right or even the moderate center. Even her high school peers, in her high school years, which was 8 years ago for this girl. So she's 26. I boasted stickers and magnets such as "Not a Republican," "Vote Blue, no matter who." Friends don't let friends vote Republican. It's now obvious to me the hatred and insistence on separateness was a sign of the falseness of the self-proclaimed open-mindedness of the Democratic Party. In my experience, even now at the height of polarization, while Republicans tend to have a distaste for Democrats, Democrats feel a burning hatred towards Republicans. Don't get it twisted. Let's read that again. Democrats feel a burning hatred towards Republicans. Yes, please wake up to that fact and realize they hate us. Anyway, I remember when Republican House Majority Leader Eric Cantor lost the 2012 primary. We rejoiced that his career was ruined and hoped he had suffered. We would make jokes about the Republican Congresspeople losing elections, thinking in the back of our minds how much better the world would be without those evil bastards. We did our best to avoid even being in the room with conservative-minded people and preferred lobbying to Democrats who already agreed with us rather than confronting Republican elected officials. Well, at least that's good for us. Republicans, according to my SJW friend group, are not people. They are, whether they're Congresspeople or conservative-leaning voters. Do you see how they think of us? They think we're not people. And it shows in the way they treat us. I don't think this girl is an anomaly. It is important to note that the Republican Party and conservative-minded people in general have a deep desire to help the helpless and needy as well. While my political ideology has changed, the root and reason I did believe and what I believe in now is empathy. I hold kindness and compassion to be of the highest importance and have found that conservatives offer practical, realistic approaches to tackle the daunting task of helping those who need it. However, conservatives choose not to do a disservice to both the categorized helpers and helpless. Unlike the leftists and Democrats, who consider vast populations to be completely helpless, the right believes in dignity, capabilities, and worth of people in this country, and does not degrade them to the position of being so low and pathetic that they cannot do basic things to help themselves. The right applies logic to their authentic compassion and belief in people's potentials, allowing them to create the most practical, realistic, and dignifying long-term solutions for people of all backgrounds and abilities. It took almost 6 years until I understood what I have fallen for and began to climb back out of the hole into the light of reality. The story of how this transition was triggered to begin with is a saga in and of itself, and I'm happy to present a fairy tale ending. I have regained control of both my heart and head, and am now a proud conservative whose goal is still to make the world a better place. And like I said, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that. Thanks for stopping by my channel.
People need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the stuff. People need to be awake. People need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the stuff.
And it's so politically engaged.
And is so politically engaged.